So, what are we looking at right now? What is this? What is this image in front of you? It looks like Ryuki, but it's American, like Power Rangers. Okay, enough beating around the bush. Kamen Rider Dragon Knight is in fact the second attempt to bring a Power Ranger style adaptation of Kamen Rider to the West. The first attempt was Saban's Masked Rider, a god-awful show that took some of the worst elements of the Mighty Morphin era of Power Rangers. And that's all I'm gonna say about that show. Don't expect me to ever talk about it. You can't pay me money to watch that thing. Anyway, Kamen Rider Dragon Knight obviously adapts Ryuki, and takes some of the plot elements and stuff from Ryuki, and just tells his own take on it, and does it better in my own personal opinion. So, let's get into it. So, our plot. Our hero, Kit Taylor, has had a rough life, and after just getting out of foster care, he begins to search for his missing father, who disappeared a year ago. Along the way, he finds a special set of cards, and seems to get visions of his father, and they tell him to search for a dragon. Before long, he finds himself stuck inside of a mirror. While he's there, he meets a mysterious man named Lin, who's a warrior from a mirror world called Ventara. His world's been overrun by an evil general named Xaviax, who's now starting to invade Earth. At the same time, Xaviax manipulates others into becoming Kamen Riders to hunt down and kill Lin, the last person left who can stop him. As Kit tries to uncover the mystery of his father's disappearance, he becomes the new Kamen Rider Dragon Knight, and allies himself with Lin to save Ventara and Earth and stop the various evil riders. So, one thing I'll give Dragon Knight over Ryuki is the main character. Kit is a way better protagonist than Shinji, with a more straightforward goal: find out what happened to his dad, and help Lin. While Kit does struggle with the idea of being a rider, he doesn't flip-flop as much as Shinji does. He has a goal and he sets out to do it. He also becomes really close friends with Lin, who serves as a great mentor figure / secondary rider. He's really reluctant to have Kit along because he doesn't want anyone else to get hurt in his war, on top of his own struggles with Kit's mirror counterpart. It's very interesting in all honesty. One more thing I'll give Dragon Knight over Ryuki is that Ventara is a proper mirror world, not just some empty world filled with nothing but monsters. There are mirror counterparts, at least an interesting characterization for our various characters. For one thing, Xaviac isn't just grabbing randos and making them Kamen Riders. He's going after the mirror duplicates of the original Ventaran Riders and turning them into Kamen Riders to serve his ultimate goal, manipulating them and twisting them to his own ends. It's interesting, it makes our villain seem a lot more competent and, well, villainous instead of just popping up at the end of the story. Then there's the unmorphed fights, for lack of a better term. The show has a lot of unsuited fights, a lot of original footage, which is really handled well. In fact, it won a Daytime Emmy for its outstanding stunt work. There's a really good transition between the original stuff and, for lack of a better term, Sentai footage. That's a term used oftentimes for Power Rangers. Anyway, as much as I like the show and how much good it does, it has effective use of the side characters. The Ventaran Riders are pretty cool, and basically the idea of venting is really well handled in the show. It's sort of like a death beyond death that the Riders face, and it's just really cool. And again, Xaviax is an actually threatening villain, considering how he manipulates people and does whatever he wants. But as much as the show does good, we don't live in a timeline where the show's efforts of being good paid off and it became as popular as Power Rangers is in the West. It unfortunately had to be screwed over by the network. The show was aired on the CW for Kids in 2009, which was honestly a dying time. Honestly, I remember watching the show way back when on Sunday morning, which it's around my time frame and my zone. This aired on Sunday. I know some places probably aired on Saturday, but yeah, basically around that time frame, 2009, the idea of a Saturday, well in this case Sunday, morning television block was kind of dying out in the West. I mean, think about it. Do any morning blocks of TV shows even exist anymore? Most of them have moved to late nights or do like online streaming events or whatever. And honestly, the network didn't even air the last 2 episodes of the series. And according to reports, it wasn't CW that didn't want to do it. It was the 4Kids directors who didn't want to do it because they hated the show. The CW directors actually liked the show. And that goes to show the show did have a chance, but again, it was screwed over by the network, especially 4Kids. It's honestly terrible. They had 4Kids later added the entire series onto their website in 2010, but they dropped it in December of 2010, and now 4Kids is dead. Really, really sad that they're dead. Not really. Anyway, at NS Entertainment, the showrunners did a good job with the show. They had plans for a movie, maybe an adaptation of another season of Rider, maybe the next season that followed after this one. But because of the network they were stuck on and just the timing of it all, they were basically screwed over. It's a terrible shame that we don't live in a timeline where the show managed to, all of its efforts managed to pay off for good. One thing I will mention is that this show was aired in Japan and Asian territories. Also Spanish territories, but that's kind of expected because I know 4Kids had a Spanish division. Anyway, it apparently did really well in Japan. For those of you who are also curious to know, in Japan, it's not completely uncommon for them to just take Americanized works of their stuff, like Power Rangers, like Super Sentai, how it's Power Rangers, and just re-air it in Japan with dubbed, and oftentimes has the counterparts voice their American counterparts. Is pretty cool. They do it all the time with Power Rangers, is what I mean to say, so this is the first time they did it with Kamen Rider. Anyway, Dragon Knight did pretty well in Japan. They even got a sequel novel over there, which is also another practice common for Kamen Rider in Japan. Although I find it weird that the American Kamen Rider has a novel written in Japan that you can't read because it's written in Japanese. Anyone else feel the irony in that? Anyway, overall, it's a tragedy that this show can't also be easily seen, as it has not received a DVD or Blu-ray release, because 4Kids. I just like blaming 4Kids for everything. Also, by this point, the rights for the show have defaulted back to Toei, so you're basically gonna have to pirate this if you're going to get a chance to see it. Thankfully, there are corners of the internet that do have the show up. You just have to get used to the little 4Kids logo in the corner. Again, it's a shame that the show was basically screwed over by timing in the network. This is honestly the first Kamen Rider show that I've ever seen, I remember watching this in 2009 when it aired on television. It's, again, a shame that the show didn't work out, mainly thanks to network interference and just poor timing. I honestly wish the show were more well known. It has a strong, small fan base, but I feel that anyone who watches Ryuki should have a chance to watch Dragon Knight as well. They might like it more, or like it just as well. Oh well, hopefully I did my part to get some people curious about it, and that's all I can hope.